Through this core IGCSE paper. It's for 1 hour 15 minutes, and also it's a paper 3 specimen paper for 2020. It has for 1 hour 15 minutes, so I'll go over it in a short time. Now I need you guys to watch the video and prepare for your test coming up tomorrow. Watch the video and prepare for the test coming up tomorrow, and prepare for the test tomorrow. Okay, now without wasting so much time, let me move to the first question. Um, the first question is go down, go down, go down. Okay, okay. All living organisms. This is the first question. Um, let me. Okay, this is the first question. All living organisms show the 7 characteristics, and remember the 7 characteristics of life processes. If you remember the word Miss Gren, you should be able to remember that. Now, said these are listed below along with their definitions. Match the characteristics and definition by drawing lines, and one has been done for you. So what's nutrition? Without wasting time, nutrition has to do with taking in of material for energy, growth, and development. So just nutrition. Excretion is the removal from organism of toxic material and substance in excess of requirement. Materials that are toxic, that's excretion. Reproduction, it's the ability, the process that make more of the same kind of organism. So more of the same kind of organism here. Then growth is the permanent increase in size and dry mass of an organism. Then respiration is a chemical reaction that occurs in cells to release energy. Then obviously sensitivity is the ability to detect changes in the environment. So we've been able to do that. Question number 2. The diagram in figure 2.1 is a chimpanzee, and the chimpanzee is a vertebrate. State the main group of vertebrate to which the chimpanzee belongs. Now, chimpanzee is a vertebrate and it belongs to mammals. Now, state 2 features visible. So that means what I can see. 2 features that are visible, which suggests that it belongs to a group of vertebrate. First, it has a fur or hair. Now, look at the ear. It has external penis. External ears or penis. You get the mark. Okay. Now, they said the chimpanzee lives in a forest in Central and West Africa. It lives in a forest in Central and West Africa. The chimpanzee is classified as an endangered species. That means it will soon be wiped out because the population has decreased greatly. Now, they say suggest why the chimpanzee population has decreased. Now, it will decrease because of habitat loss, so their home is being destroyed. Habitat loss, or you can bring in deforestation here. Because of increase in human population, there is more need for houses. Then we can also look at competition from humans. Competition from humans. Another factor can be hunting. So describe how captive breeding program can help to conserve chimpanzee in the wild. First, captive breeding, what does it mean? Captive breeding has to do with when you catch these animals from the wild, you put them in a particular housing and you breed them so that they will have time to reproduce and increase in number. Then you now release them back to the wild. So the first importance is Captive breeding will now allow them to reproduce. Captive breeding will allow them to reproduce. It's a 2-mark question. So that means if they reproduce, there will now be what? More offspring. Remember the multiplier effect. More offspring will now, and when you have more offspring, you now release them later back into the wild. Now, the next question here is, suggest two methods other than captive breeding of conserving endangered species. So, two methods, you have protecting the habitat, so there won't be habitat loss. Another method can be you have to educate the people. Education on importance of conservation. Then we can also look at factors such as you can mention captive breeding, education on the importance of conservation. We can also, I'm having a class. Go and call Victor for me. Now the next here can be conserving. We can look at having seed banks. Now question number 3 has to do with reproduction. So first, figure 3.1 shows a fetus developing inside the uterus. Yeah, carry and go. Developing inside the uterus. Now the fetus developed from a fertilized egg cell. You know that. Now put an X on figure 3.1 to show where the egg is formerly fertilized. Now the egg is fertilized at X here, which is around the oviduct of fallopian tube. So you can put your X there. You get your mark. State the function of the structure label A and B. What is A first? A has to do with the A help with the transfer. Okay, sorry about that. Is okay. Let's continue. So first, this is A. What is A? If you need to identify what it is, then we'll be able to state out the structure. So this is the placenta, and this is the umbilical cord. So what it does is, function of A is it allows for the exchange of material between the mother and the fetus. Allow for exchange between the mother and the fetus. Between the mother and fetus. Then B, it helps to carry blood from the fetus to the placenta. Carry blood from fetus to placenta. Okay. Next is, describe the role of the structure label C and D during childbirth. Now, where is C? Okay, C will contract while to push the baby out. C will contract to push the baby out, while D, which is the cervix, will dilate to allow the baby come out. Okay, I've answered that. Now, this question has to do with the functions of enzymes. Thank God I was explaining this to you guys and the other day. Now, figure 4.1 shows the model of how enzyme work. Now, label the enzyme molecules in this diagram. This is the enzyme. Then this will be this and this are the substrate. And this is the product. Now, so you just circle this. This is the enzyme. Now they say enzyme are biological catalysts. Explain what is meant by the term catalyst. So a catalyst is a substance that speeds up the rate of chemical reaction without being changed at the end of the reaction. A catalyst is a substance that speed up the rate of reaction without being changed at the end of the reaction, without being changed at the end of the reaction. Now, state why enzymes are important to organism. Now, without enzyme, reaction will occur too slowly that it will not be able to sustain life. Without enzymes, life will not be sustainable. Will not be sustainable. Now, next, say in the Arctic, snowy owls are predator of lemmings. In the Arctic, snowy owls are predator of lemmings, and the lemmings eat Arctic plant, draw a Arctic ecosystem. So the Arctic plant will come first because it will be the producer. From Arctic plant to lemmings, which feed on it, to what? Owls. That's the answer. Always make sure you remember to put the arrows. If not, that's 0. Now, figure 5.1 shows changes in the population of snowy owls and lemmings over a 3-year period. So this is lemming, this is snowy owls, and we are looking at their population change over a 3-year period. So now, the first question is, during the first 10 months of year 1, the lemming population increased slowly. During the first 10 months, increased slowly at first and then more rapidly. Suggest why the rate of increase become greater. So that might be as a result of increase in the number of lemmings reproducing will cause the rate of reproduction to be faster. Increase in numbers of lemmings reproducing. Suggest why lemmings population falls during year 2. Why lemmings population falls during year 2. Remember, snowy owls feed on lemons and it drops. So if snowy owls population increase, that means they will consume more of lemons. So first, I can say snowy owl population increase. Snowy owl population increase. And that will give me 1 mark. So if it increase, that means there will be more what? Predation. More predation of lemons. More predation of lemons. So lemon population will now drop. Now, using figure 5.1 to describe, now there are 2 key terms here, describe and explain how changes in the lemon population affect the snowy population. So now, here you're gonna look at the description, and description is when you say what you see, an explanation when you give reasons for what you see to be happening. So let's say they say describe how the changes in lemon population affect the snowy population. So if you look at this, increase in lemon population is usually decrease in snowy population. So let's say, or how you write this is, as lemon population falls, snowy population rises. As lemon population falls, snowy population rises. That's one. Two, it's a 3-mark question. So what I've just written now is description of what I can see. Now, because of what? There will be less food. As lemon population falls, snowy population rises. This will lead to less food for the lemon, because there is no more snowy. Less food for the snowy, because lemon has decreased. So therefore with time, lemon, snowy will all then start to decrease. With time, snowy will decrease. Okay. So if all the snowy owl were removed, so if we remove all the snowy owl from the Arctic ecosystem, suggest and explain what effect this would have on the lemon population. Simple. Lemon will increase because there is no more predation. Because there is no more predation, and because there's no more predation, I think that's the major thing. So the next question is, lemons and snowy owl get their energy from the food they eat? State the principal source of energy in an ecosystem. Sun. Name the process in which they trap this energy. Is photosynthesis. Okay, let's see the next question, please. What term is used to describe disease-causing organism? A disease-causing organism is called a pathogen. Figure 6.1 shows some virus particle that cause the transmissible disease called influenza. Suggest how the virus particle that causes influenza are transmitted from one person to another. Now, so you can transfer it through sneeze. It can be transferred because when you inhale it because it is airborne. You can also be transferred through contact with infected person. Next, let's say describe the defense of the body which prevents or fights infections. So how do your body help to fight off infections? So we have things like mechanical barriers, like your skin, mechanical barriers such as your skin. We have chemical barriers such as the mucus in your nose. We also have chemical barriers such as mucus that trap dust particles. We also have the hydrochloric acid in the stomach that help to kill microorganisms. You also hydrochloric acid in the stomach. We also have things like phagocytes, which are your white blood cells. Explain why antibiotics are not successful in treating influenza. Why? Because antibiotics is used to kill bacteria, not virus. It's used to destroy the cell structure and function of bacteria. Functions of bacteria. So you find out that, and virus is non-living and it does not have a cell wall. Next, I have reproduction in plant. Here we have a flower. So, what is the question now? Say, write one letter from figure 7.1 to identify each of the following. You may use each letter once, more than once, or not at all. Petals. The petals are, if you look at, these are your petals. So, J. Next, anther. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. So F is your anther. Stigma, this is the one that receives it, so it's H. A male part of the flower. The male part of the flower in this case should be, this is the female part. The male part should be male part of a flower. Where is okay F, which is the anther. So the male part is made up of the anther and the filament. A part of the carpel. If you look at this, carpel is the female part of a flower. So let's go back, and that should be G. So even H is a female part of a flower. So we can have G or H, any of the two. Then lastly, sepals should be the last one there, which is the one that houses the flower before it becomes exposed. That should be E. Now, describe the evidence that this flower is pollinated by insect. First, the evidence is, if you look at it, it has a large petals. So, insect pollinated flowers has petals. So, for it to be, so it has large petals to attract insects. That's one. Another function is the anther and the stigma are found inside the petals. The anther and stigma are inside the petals. Simple. So that answered this question. Then next. So figure 7.2 shows pollen grains from the flower of several different species, labeled with letter K to Q. State the letter of pollen grains that come from insect pollinated flower. Insect pollinated flower can be N because it will hook to the insect. So if you put N, if you put K, should be insect pollinated flower. I think let me see. P will be insect pollinated flower, so you can see the hooks on them. So state the letters, so they need you to state all. So I'll go first with K. I have N, I have P. Which other one? Okay, look at L too. So I think that's all. The rest are smooth, so there will be wind. Now, figure 8.1. Figure 8.1 shows a field of sugarcane and the remains of the sugarcane after the harvest. Sugarcane remain after the harvest. So now they say the sugarcane is the sugars in sugarcane can be used to make ethanol, a type of biofuel. Now state the name of an organism that can be used to make ethanol biofuel from sugar. This is simple. These microorganisms such as yeast. State the process that this organism uses is anaerobic respiration. Now they said a lot of heat is needed for the final stage of making the biofuel. The heat can be provided by burning fossil fuels. Explain why it would be better to burn the remains of the sugarcane instead of burning fossil fuels. First, what are the disadvantages of fossil fuel? That's just it. So fossil fuel is first non-renewable. Fossil fuels is non-renewable. Another thing is fossil fuel uh, combustion will produce carbon dioxide. So you can put burning of fossil fuels releases CO2 more than the sugarcane. Cane remains. Next is figure 9.1 represent the carbon cycle. Use figure 9.1 to answer the following question. Name the process label U. So if you look at this, U is carbon compound in plants, go to become carbon compound in animals. So how do plants take in the compound of carbon that is found in plants? That means it's through nutrition or feeding. So U here will be nutrition or feeding. Now name a group of organisms that are responsible for the process labeled W. Now carbon compound in dead organism relates. So those organisms are majorly the decomposers. Such as what? Bacteria. Now list two letters that identify respiration. Two letters that identify respiration here. So let's see. Plant, carbon dioxide in plant release carbon dioxide into air. So T will be respiration. It's through respiration that plant releases carbon dioxide. Animal also release carbon dioxide through respiration back to the atmosphere. So it will be T and V. State which letter identify photosynthesis. Carbon compound in fossil fuel, no. So this S, where the carbon dioxide in air gets into the plant to make carbon compound in plants through photosynthesis. So here is S. Now they say state the word equation for aerobic respiration. Word equation for aerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration is glucose plus oxygen. We give you carbon dioxide plus water. That's all. Now, suggest reasons why the mean percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has increased during the last 100 years. This is quite simple. Some of the reasons are deforestation due to increase in human population, so then there is need for more houses, so the clear forest. So there have been more combustions of fossil fuels, basically for industries and electricity generation. Industries and electricity generation. Then you also have due to higher increase in human population, the human population has also increased the demand for energy. Has increased the demand for energy. Okay, 16. Page 16, number 10. Said figure 10.1 shows the concentration of alcohol in the blood of a person over a number of hours. Now, between 8 p.m. and midnight, the person had several alcoholic drinks while eating a meal. Now, the first question is, the concentration of alcohol in the person's blood began to fall after midnight State the organ that removes the alcohol. Detoxification is done by the liver. Now, the next question is, in some countries, it is illegal for a person to drive a vehicle with a blood alcohol concentration of more than 80 milligram of alcohol per cm cube of blood. Now, complete the graph to predict the earliest time after midnight at which this person will legally be able to drive his vehicle. You can assume that the alcohol concentration continues to fall at the same rate as between X and Y. So now the legal level to drive is 80 milligram. So if you come, so once you have less than 80 milligram, you should be able to drive. So if it keeps falling at this rate, when it will get to 80 milligram, this is 80 milligram. So here, so it's around, not 8, somewhere here. So now should be around, so that is 80 milligrams. So less than 80 he will be allowed to drive. So somewhere here we should be around 9 or 10 here. That's all. So just why drinking alcohol makes driving a car and dangerous. One, it reduces self-control. It's a depressant. It's reduced reaction time, so it makes you slower reaction time. State 2 other harmful effects of alcohol on the body. It leads to addiction. It also damages the liver. Also reduce self-control. So all those two, the answers are similar. Now, last question here. Figure 11.1 shows a white sweet pea flower and a red sweet pea flower. So we have the white here, white pea and red pea. Define, the first question is, these colors define the term allele. Allele is an alternative form of a gene. Now they say a homozygous sweet pea with white flower, homozygous, was crossed with a homozygous sweet pea with a red flower. All the offspring had red flower. State which allele of this gene is dominant. If all of them have red flower, the red allele R, the red is what? Dominant. Now they said two heterozygous sweet pea plants with red flower were crossed as shown below. Draw a Punnett square to show the genotype that are produced in these crosses. So, and these are the parents, these are the offspring. So it's quite simple, just your normal box. So you can bring in, I normally tell students 3 boxes. So 1, 2, 3. uh, divide this. So now you can bring in this gamete here first. Capital R, small r. Here, capital R, small r. So this will give you capital, this and this will give you capital R, R. This and this will give you capital R, small r, because capital R is dominant. This and this will give you capital R, small r. Capital R is dominant, and this will give you S, R, R. Now, they said the next question is state the phenotypic ratio produced. That is simple. This is, we have 3 red. That's phenotype is their physical appearance. We have 3 red and 1 white. That is 3:1. So 3 red ratio 1 white. Okay, thank you.